So I want to comment on that Carissa Hood situation in Chicago. A lot of men in the black community are disappointing and saying that it was her fault because she should have backed down, she should have walked away, she should have stopped talking, etc., etc. I just want to say that, you know what? She was standing there picking up her food, as was everybody. She was in the front of the line, apparently. She was at the counter. He was to her left, so he probably walked up to her. People were saying that she was in his face. He was in her face and in her space. She was not afraid of him because she tells her son, go in the car. She's trying to protect her son from, just in case something happens. She doesn't want her son to get involved. And she keeps talking to him, and I'm not clear at what she's saying, but I think it has something to do with her food order. But she's not afraid of him. And people are saying that she had done a charitable activity over the Father's Day weekend to give money to men that were, quote, unloved. And she did, like, she collected the money, excuse me, and then she gave it out to men who needed. So she felt comfortable with, with the male gender, and she didn't move out. She didn't get away from him. She didn't step away. She didn't go to the car. She didn't remove herself at all. She doesn't even try to calm him down, but she's still talking to him. And so this is what you get when you think that you could be nice to these men, when you assume the best about them. That's what it is. To me, she is, from what I saw, she assumed the best. Because I don't know why she's even trying to persuade him of anything, but she was. Because she wasn't afraid of him. Apparently she didn't view him as a threat. And she didn't want her son, she knows he's a male, and he would have viewed the man as a threat. Because a male is not going to allow that back and forth for very long. But like I said, I think she didn't feel intimidated and felt like, oh, please, let me just handle this myself. I don't think she expected him to punch her at all. And I thought to myself, when I first saw the video for the first time, I thought he punched her one time. Then when I find out this man was beating her down to the ground. He was back and forth and back and forth. I was shocked by this. I'm very disappointed and I'm very uncomfortable. Because this man looks like a regular guy. You'd meet him you could see him at a supermarket picking up his groceries. He doesn't look scary. All the stereotypical appearances and like presentations that the movies and all that assume that a dangerous black man would have. He doesn't have anything on crazy. He doesn't have bandana. He doesn't seem like, he's just wearing a white t-shirt and a nice pair of camouflage pants. He looks well put together. His hair he's well groomed. And she doesn't see it coming. I don't think most people would see that coming. I don't think so. But if a man told me, don't say another word, I would know that he's off his mind, off his markers. And I would probably step outside. I would move away from him and probably call the police. I probably would call the police. And someone might say, oh, you're saying that now. Guess what? We all better start saying that now. We all better start saying, what would I do if I were to be in that situation? And call the police needs to be on your list of things to do. It's time for us to no longer allow those type of men the free reign in the community. It's about time for us to stop being afraid of these kinds of men and allowing them to just walk away and say, you know what? I don't want to do that to a brother. He's not your brother when he is a destructive force. It's time for the tears to be removed. It's time to call out the tears and say, enough is enough. You're not welcome here. She didn't even do that. She didn't even perceive it that way. Her son was wise enough to say, well, he had already punched his mother, but he was watching it. And then he says, oh no, you're not going to beat up my mother. Because this guy went as if he was in a boxing ring. What was in it for him? You ask yourself, so much that he had to behave that way. Was he winning? Was he getting a cash prize? No, of course not. It's some kind of satisfaction that he gets from hurting other people. So as brown women, that's how I say it, we have to, and women in general, we have no reason, but I'm talking especially to brown women, because the brown community, this black society that we live in, we have our own society. You can say whatever you want. We have our own society where when we go home, we all live in the same spaces. Whether your neighborhood is middle class or low income, we typically live in communities where we have similar skin colors, typically. Of course, not everyone. And we need to understand that these men are not our friends and we are not to be engaging in them. And there's no reason to smile at them. This is why we keep telling these males, stop asking us to smile at random men that we don't know their mentality. You want us to smile at men whose headspace we don't get where they're coming from. So we're just supposed to throw happiness and joy. I actually heard a man of color, a black man, say this. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. This man said, I believe that if this woman had asked that man if he needed a hug today, this whole thing would have never happened. I'm going to say it one more time. A black man online said, one of these apps, I believe, this is what he said, I believe if that woman had have asked that man, do you need a hug today, none of this would have happened. This is the mentality of black men. They are entitled to behave irrationally. Everything that they do is justifiable. And you know what, black males? The white tea community is listening and saying, exactly. See what we told you? The whole world is saying, you see how they are? No wonder the police do what they do. Nobody's feeling sorry for you guys anymore outside of your group. You're going to be the only ones that care what happens to you because your behavior is unacceptable. Really. You think it's okay because you didn't like what she said. Some of the men are saying she was probably rude to him, right? And so they give him license to be inappropriate. And this is why this society is is a dangerous place. Because the males give other males license to mistreat the women and children. And because they always say, well, there's a reason for that. It's because she was loud. It's because he was tired of hearing her voice. It's because he felt disrespected. It's because... And they never stand up in moment, and even in this moment where they have an opportunity to speak loudly to the next generation and say, guys, this is not okay. Au contraire, they're giving their stamp of approval and saying she should have left the situation. Well, guess what? Obviously, the male should have been the one to step aside and calm himself down. And it's about time for black males to learn that lesson. But looks like they're going to have to learn it the hard way. That's what it looks like.